ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्बोद्धूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् So we are discussing very important thing, that is Khyativada, theory of error. Even though we are discussing an example of a shell, silver or a rope snake, etc., but ultimately this is to be extended to the creation, because that is what we understand. The creation is real. Jagat is Satyam. Like silver is Satyam. Like snake is Satyam. So understanding the snake mithya or silver as mithya, we are going to understand Jagat is also mithya. So looks at this, this is a very simple thing, but it's not that simple. Already an error has taken place, calling Jagat as Satyam or Jiva is Satyam, individual, same thing. When you say Jagat is Satyam, it implies Jiva is also Satyam, because Jiva is not Jagat, Jagat is not Jiva. And therefore the knower and known, both are Satyam. That's a duality. That is what the duality is. And therefore Jagat Mithya, Jiva Mithya, etc. means the basis is, the Brahman is the adhishthanam of both. And that is Satyam. So there is nothing other than Brahman. Jagat also is non-separate from Brahman. Jiva is Brahman. Jiva is not non-separate, we say like, but Jiva is Brahman. Jagat is non-separate from Brahman. Because Brahman is as such, consciousness, and Jagat looks inert. Therefore we say Jagat is non-separate from Brahman and Jiva is Brahman, etc., etc. So this is what we want to understand ultimately. So we take this error in example, perceptual error. It's a part of epistemology in any philosophy. And therefore everyone has to explain this error in perception. And everyone is, so each Khyativada basically stems from a philosophy, and in order to establish that philosophy, one has to explain this error. One has to explain away the error. So one has to bend the error, in fact, to suit his philosophy. So that's how we have Khyativada. So how this error happens, how one sees a silver in place of a shell. People, all philosophy explains in their own way, and depending upon a bend on his philosophy. So what is the philosophy of Anyatha Khyativadi that we have seen also? And so there is no mithya. Everything is Satyam, Dravya, Guna, etc. All is Satyam. And I mean, I have told you, Dravyam means that substance is Satyam, Guna is Satyam. The relationship between Dravya and Guna also is Satyam. Or they call it Samavaya. Samavaya means you cannot separate. Even though Dravya is a one thing, substance is a one thing, locus, Guna is an attribute which is reside in that locus. Well, but you cannot separate Dravya and Guna. They call it Samavaya. So that is Samavaya also is Satyam. Everything is Satyam. So basically this is their philosophy, Nayayikas. And so they say this Adhyasa also, Nyaya, well, of course, Vaisheshika also follows it, I have told you. They are very clever in formulating their position. And well, they say, Anyatra Anya Dharmadhyasa iti vadanti. So, well, on the shell you are seeing the silver, that silver is somewhere else. You are right now moving on that beach in New Jersey. On the seashore you are moving and you are seeing a shell. But instead of seeing a shell, you are seeing it as a silver. That silver which you are seeing here, that silver is there, silver coin. In a 5 miles away in your home, and in that in the cupboard, you are seeing it. Please understand that. So it is not because of a certain similarity. You remember the silver, but then you are seeing that silver. It is not just remembered silver you are seeing. You are actually seeing the silver coin. Because the similarity, there are many points of similarity between a shell and that silver coin. And that is a size, a little circular shape, there is a shining. All these things are there. So when you see an object in front, your previous experience of silver is remembered in your home. And because of the similarity, well, but you basically you are seeing right now a silver coin which is there in your home. That kind of a perception in which you are not using your senses naturally, because you are not seeing through your eyes. The silver coin present in your cupboard in the home 5 miles away, you are not seeing through the eyes. So if you are seeing through eyes, it is a laukika pratyaksha. Could you follow that? But you are seeing that silver coin which is there, well, without your senses, using your senses. That's called alaukika pratyaksha. So perception of a silver coin through alaukika pratyaksha. But that silver coin you are seeing here on that shell. That's what they say. So basically, we are going to refute it also, and I have already told you, if you are seeing a silver which is quite far away, then in between also there were several things, right? Several crossroads and some cars and everything are there. That also you should be able to see. Yeah, I am able to see. I know that then the roads come and then that particular cars and everything I am able to see. That's all remembered. At this point, when you are seeing that silver, at this point, what are the cars standing in which areas, and how are you able to see? No, that only Google Baba can see. You can't see. Google Baba can see, of course, but you can't see. Okay? And therefore, because it's a pratyaksha, I am not talking about what you remembered between your home and here. I am not talking about that. Because you are seeing, you are not seeing a silver which is remembered. You are seeing a silver which is present in your home. Then you should be able to see between that shore and your home, whatever the things are there, that also at this moment what is the position of everything, you should be able to see. No. So accept it is just a remembrance. It is you have to accept it, but they don't accept. They say they are seeing a real silver coin which is present there. Right now they are seeing that, and on this particular object. Only thing is, it is there. I am seeing it here, therefore it is khyati. It's an error. But anyatha khyati, the object which is elsewhere is seen here. That's all. Clear? Anyatha khyati. So that is, they don't accept that this particular is just imagination or something. No. the real silver coin is seen on a shell. So anyatha. Anyway, so anyatha Khyativadi, they do not accept the concept of a empiricality also, because everything is Satyam. Satyam means there is what you see is all Satyam. And therefore, well, what you see is basically Vyavaharika Satyam, Mithya, etc. They do not accept. We have this Paramarthikam and Vyavaharikam and Pratibhasikam, etc. And we can distinguish also from one from the other. We are ready to say also, we can explain it also. What is Pratibhasikam? Is like, this silver is a Pratibhasikam, definitely. That day I did not clarify it that day, but I am telling you right now. Like our dream experience, this silver on the shell, etc. also is a Pratibhasikam, definitely Pratibhasikam. Anyway, so it's available only for you. Dream world also is available for you. For dream world is also only experienced by you. Same way, silver also on a shell is only experienced by you. Other person may just see it as a shell only, and therefore it is Pratibhasikam. And Vyavaharikam, well, this is the whole creation. We are going to extend, right? This is an example. We are going to extend it to the world. The world which is also experienced, well, that also is not a finally, it's not real. We call it as, even though it is available for experience to everyone, but still it is Mithya. It's an error. To tell Jagat as Satyam is an error. And that is this kind of a reality. We call it as a Vyavaharikam, available for everyone. Yet it is Mithya. Like a silver on a shell is Mithya, same way that is also Mithya. And we call it as a different reality, different order of a reality rather. So it is Vyavaharikam. And the Adhishthanam of that Jagat alone is the reality, Paramarthikaryam, which cannot be negated in any in 3 periods of time. Well, that is Brahman. And therefore, these 3 realities we explain like this. And Paramarthikam means this Brahman, Vyavaharikam means this Ishvara Srushti, Pratibhasikam, Jiva Srushti, you can say that way also. And it's our own Kalpana like rope snake, etc. So this is how the Jagat is, the truth is. So basically, this Anyatha Khyativadi. Then, there is a Akhyativadi. And there, that is Prabhakara's. Mimamsaka's one of the school, 2 schools are there. One is Prabhakara's school and the other is Bhatta. This Prabhakara Mata also is basically, they are more ingenious than this Nayayikas. And for Prabhakara, every cognition is valid. And when you mistake rope for a snake, etc., or a shell for a silver, well, in their philosophy, there is no Brahma at all. Everything is Prama. Your dream also is a Prama. This is your experience. It is even Vishishtadvaitin also believe like this. Vishishtadvaitin and Prabhakaras, they have this thing in common. Every cognition is a Prama only, not a Brahma at all. Well, and therefore there is no Khyati, there is no error at all. So, but I am seeing a gold in a dream. Yeah, that is not Brahma. It's Brahma. You are seeing real gold. That's what they say. So when you how do they explain this error? They say there is no error at all. First thing is, there is no Brahma. There is no error. Akhyativada. So then how will you explain this silver on the shell? We are explaining you, don't worry. They say, when you see the object as this is silver, there is this aspect of which belongs to shell. And there is silver aspect which belongs to the memory. Right? And both the perceptions are individually real. Like, remembered silver, because you have already experienced and therefore you are remembering it. Well, that cognition also is real. And this is shell. Well, that perception is also real. But only thing is, when such thing happens, this is silver when you are saying. Well, actually, both the perceptions, even though both are individually real, but the difference between the 2 perceptions is missed. Difference between 2 cognitions is missed. and hence there is only one perception, and you call it that this is silver. I will explain you a little differently. So there are two cognitions as such. Each cognition is incomplete now. There is shell, complete perception. There is a memory of a silver, complete perception. Cognition, it's a complete perception. You are seeing, because that's perception. Why I am saying? Because you are remembering, you are directly seeing the silver in your mind. So that also complete perception. This is shell, complete perception. What happens is, in this case, when you say this is silver, both these cognitions are incomplete, basically. And so, like this is shell, from that complete perception, that predicate part is concealed. Predicate part means what? The shell is concealed. This is shell. Now this is part, well, that remains. Only the shell part, predicate part, is conceived. And this is silver, which is in your mind. Well, that is also complete perception. But from that, the memory part is concealed. And therefore, what happens is, well, basically, you say this is silver. It's a incomplete perception of both. This is silver, which is in your mind, a remembered silver. From that memory part, remembered part has gone. The silver part remains. And this is shell, that's a complete perception. There the shell part is conceived, and well, it combines incomplete perception and incomplete memory, let's say, is combined. From a remembered silver, that remembered part gone, silver part remained. This is shell, from that the shell part is conceived, and therefore you combine these two. Incomplete perception. You are not able to recognize basically the difference between the two perceptions, and which is missed, and therefore you will have a one perception called this is silver. That silver part belongs to the memory, and this is this is shell. From that the shell part is also gone. So therefore this is from the perception, this is shell, this is part remains, and from the remembered silver, the only silver part remains, and then it is combined together. Both perceptions are real. Remembrance also, well, it is real. And this is shell also, that is also real, but incomplete perception, incomplete memory, or incomplete two cognitions, you can say. If you don't want to say it as a memory, well, you say this is another cognition in form of a memory, and one cognition, it is in form of a perception here. And therefore, so you fail to discriminate between these two cognitions, and so both are valid actually. Perception is also valid, memory also is valid, only incompleteness of both brought this problem. So you fail to discriminate between the two cognitions, and therefore the remembered part gone from the silver, and from the perception shell part goes, and you combine. And therefore there is no error. Don't say there is an error here. There is no error. Both valid cognitions, but the income is when they become incomplete, then this kind of situation arises, and therefore there is no error at all. So they have a akhyati vada. Akhyati. Khyati means error. Akhyati, no error. So in the perception of silver on the shell, commonly known in the world, well, the difference between the shell that is perceived and the silver that is remembered is not recognized. So that absence of seeing the difference between them is the cause of perception of silver here, and therefore there is no real error. Okay, now what about this bhattas, right? Another one. They are basically we can include our definition into them. I have told you before, vyavhare tu bhattanayaha. So basically in vyavhara's thing, in so many aspects, though we and bhattas go together. So bhatta's khyati-vada, theory of error, is called viparita khyati. That makes sense. Viparita khyati. So Bhashyakara says in that Adhyasa Bhashyam, Anyetu yasya rajatasya adhyasah अन्येतु यत्र यद अध्यासः तस्यैव विपरीत धर्मत्व कल्पनाम आचक्षते. So, what happens is, so yasya rajatasya adhyasah, so the perception of the silver, yatra shuktau yasmin adhikarane, so the perception of silver in the place where there is a shell, in that locus itself, some people imagine to have a dharma that does not belong to it. So this kalpana, which is viparita dharma, actually is the adhyasa. This viparita dharma. So a perception of a silver. So rajatasya adhyasa, in the place where there is a shell, in that locus itself, you perceive this silver. So, some people they imagine to have that dharma that does not belong to that. Shell has a shuktikatva, but instead of a shellness, you see silverness. So, that is a viparita dharma, you see. And therefore, that is called adhyasa. So, they call it as a viparita khyati. And the words are used in such a way that we can include our khyati, our theory of error in that definition. Adhisthana viruddha dharma kalpana, right, is anirvachaniya khyati for us also. So, I have already told you, our definition is paratra avabhasa, appearance of an object in a locus where it is not. If you remember this, my definition last time which I gave you, so this viparita dharma kalpana is perfect. So, you see a shell or you see a viparita dharma, basically, that does not belong to that locus. That is same thing. So, you see a silver on shell. Anyway, so adhisthana viruddha dharma kalpana. So, the adhisthana, the locus, is on that locus. You see a dharma, you see something which is viruddha, which is viparitam, which is opposite. That is such a kind of imagination by a person. Then we call it as a khyati, error. So this is Bhatta. Prabhakara's akhyati. There is no, every cognition is valid. Every cognition is valid, they say. So the remembrance also, this is, you remember the silver, valid cognition. You perceive here, this is shell, valid cognition, but incomplete, both incomplete. So from the remembered silver, only silver is taken. And from the perception here, that this is shell, shell part gets concealed. So this much is been taken. So this is shell complete perception. But shell is concealed. If shell is concealed, then it's incomplete perception. And remembered silver, complete perception, complete cognition. But from there, remembered part gone, only silver remain. And then you combine. Clear? Now, it's a Prabhakaras. So everything, Vishishadvaitin also say. They also say the dream is real, they say. We don't want to go right now. They say waking is real, whatever you see is real. No. In dream also, whatever you see is real. Every cognition is real. Whether it is waking, in dream, everything is real. So Prabhakaras and Vishishtadvaitin almost go together. Almost, why we are saying almost? Because many aspects, they will not agree with each other. Anyway, so this is how the thing is. Anyway, so the silver that is, now let's come to our Anirvachaniya Khyati. So the silver that is seen on the shell is there, we cannot say. It is not there, we cannot say. There is a cognition of silver which becomes a cause for running towards that silver, and just as perception of real silver also. Suppose a real silver is there on the shore. Suppose real silver coin is there. So you run and pick it up. But here it's a shell, but you see it as silver. But pravritti say, you run towards it. And therefore, you cannot say it is non-existent, right? Like in case of a real silver, one runs towards that object. Same way, seeing the shell as a silver, one runs towards that. And therefore, well, it is real. I mean, it is existent. But then when you bend and pick up, then you find, oh, then you say, oh, means that silver is now non-existent. Clear? You ran towards the silver. It's a shell, but you ran towards the silver, thinking it is a silver. Well, therefore it is real. But when you pick it up, well, the silver goes away. Therefore, it is asat also. And therefore, it is sat and asat. Eh? Sat plus asat? No, no, no. So you cannot call it as existent. You cannot call it as a non-existent. And therefore, well, it is sadasat vilakshanam, anirvachaniyam, etc. So, we cannot dismiss it as asat, like Vandhyaputra. And we cannot, we cannot take it as real also, because when you pick it up, that becomes a shell also. And therefore, asat chet na pratiyeta, sat chet na badheta. If it is asat, well, there will not be an experience of silver at all. One will not run also towards it. Therefore, we cannot call it asat. Sat chet na badheta, if it is really existent, then we cannot negate it also, but it is subject to negation, and therefore this is sadasat vilakshana. So anirvachaniya spuranam, anirvachaniya khyati, that is our. So basically, and then Bhashyakara says, because we have to negate, few of these khyatis. Sarvathapi tu anyasya anya dharmavabhasatam na vyabhicharati. Bhashyakara says, Bhashyakara does not enter into arguments in that Adhyasa Bhashyam with various these philosophies, with various stands. All these philosophies basically, if Bhashyakara don't dismiss all this philosophy, then who will dismiss? Somebody you cannot dismiss, I cannot dismiss, then who will dismiss this? Then where is Mananam? So basically, Bhashyakara dismisses all these philosophies, including Nastikas, Bauddhas and other Jainas and our Astikas also. All are negated. Basically, he deals with all these philosophies in second chapter of Brahma Sutra, where without quoting any quotation from Upanishad, just on the basis of logic, he dismisses all these Bauddhas and Jainas and all. Anyway, so here in the Adhyasa Bhashyam, in the beginning, he does not do that job. He only wants to say one thing, that the definition paratra vabhasaha na vyabhicharati. What we have defined Adhyasa as paratra vabhasaha, appearance of an object on a locus where it is not, that nobody can dismiss. And now I will show you that it does not get contradicted. That definition does not get contradicted. And I have already also told you before, any definition which you give should not be contradicted from any standpoint. Your definition should not extend beyond what you want to define. Your definition, it should not happen that it does not pervade even the object of definition. It should not happen that way. So, abhyapti and ativyapti dosha. It should not be extended beyond the object of definition. It should not even happen that it doesn't cover the object of definition. It should not happen that way also. And therefore, such a definition he gave, where all these people, whatever their theory of error is, but this is common in them, that an appearance of an object on a locus where it is not is adhyasa, is a khyati. That is common in all. I will explain you. See, Atma Khyati Vadi said, the silver that is there in one's buddhi is seen as though it is outside. Right? That is Atma Khyati Vadi. Atma Khyati Vadi means Yogachara, Kshanik Vijnanis. So, the silver which you see is just in the form of a momentary consciousness. The shell also is a momentary consciousness. So, so the silver which is just in the form of a momentary consciousness is seen well as though it is outside. It's clear now. So the silver, our definition is paratravabhasa. So paratravabhasa means appearance of an object on a locus where it is not. So it is the same thing. Appearance of a silver which is in the form of momentary consciousness appears as though outside on a shell. See? And therefore you may say it is a momentary consciousness or something, but you are accepting that appearance of an object is seen on a locus where it is not. That is common. Am I right or wrong? So, Atmakhyati you may say that Shuktika is in form of a momentary consciousness. Rajat is in the form of a momentary consciousness. That is your problem. But appearance of that silver is on a object, on a locus called Shuktika, called shell, is there. That Rajat is in the form of a Kshanika Vijnanam, that is your problem. But appearance of that Rajat is somewhere on the locus, which is really not there. That thing is not there. Well, so that is Paratravabhasa is common. Appearance here of a thing elsewhere, where for him the silver that is located elsewhere in form of Kshanik Vijnanam is seen here on the shell, outside, etc. That is there. Now Akhyati means of a Prabhakaras, and you can say even Vishishtadvaitin also. So there they have a Bhed Agrahanam. Bhed Agrahanam means not seeing the difference. Bhed Agrahanam. Agrahanam, not seeing. Grahanam, seeing. Agrahanam, not seeing. And Bhed Agrahanam, not seeing the difference between perception and memory. Right? That is Akhyati. Not seeing the difference between perception and memory is the cause for the perception of silver where on a locus where it is not. Clear? And therefore, perception of an object, appearance of an object on a locus where it is not will remain common. So whether you say the perception and memory both are incomplete or whatever, but one thing is certain, that appearance of an object, appearance of a silver on a locus where it is not, that remains common. So Paratravabhasa will be there. You may say it is incomplete perception and incomplete memory, and so the difference between perception and memory is lost. Well, that is not seeing the difference between the perception and memory. That's okay. Therefore, remembered silver and the perception also remains incomplete. So part of the perception is concealed, called shell is concealed, and remembered silver, there is another cognition. There from that the remembered part is also concealed, and therefore the silver part is taken, and from here this is part is taken. Shell is concealed, and therefore incomplete perception, incomplete memory combined. Either that way you say, or say not seeing the difference between the perception and memory. You can say either way. But you have to accept Paratravabhasa. That's for sure. Seeing silver on a locus where it is not. That remains common. You see why I am saying this? My heart is so much, filled with that, with the glory of this Bhashyakara. The definition he has given has no dosha. Definition he has given has no dosha at all. Paratravabhasa. I am not talking about that smriti rupaha, purva drishtaha. That's okay. That's not, because it is we can explain that. Smriti rupaha, smriti sadrishaha. Seeing the silver similar to the silver which you remembered and that which you have experienced before. Well, that is there, but we are not talking. But Paratravabhasa, that is there. Paratravabhasa. And therefore, So, well, you say there is no khyati, etc. There is only incomplete perception or incomplete cognition, or not seeing the difference between the perception and memory only. And perception is valid, memory is valid, only it is incomplete. And therefore, don't say it is khyati. There is no error at all. No problem. But seeing silver on an object where it is not, you cannot deny it, right? Yeah, he says yes. That's true. Okay. So Akhyati Vada also is handled. Asat Khyati. Asat, which is not there at all, non-existent, is seen as though it is there. So what is Asat is not seen as Asat, but it shines as though as Sat. And so there is also Paratra Bhasa, right? Asat is not seen as Asat, but Asat is seen as a Sat. That is what Shunyavad is, Asat Khyati. So it is Asat. But why I am seeing a silver? How can you say it is Shunyam? Asat is seen as a Sat. He says that. And therefore, seeing a silver where it is not. Okay? And therefore, that also is okay. And in Anirvachanya Khyati, there is Paratra Vasaha. There is an appearance of silver which cannot be explained as is or is not. That is our. And that is also Paratra Vasaha. It's true. So once you accept this Anirvachaniyatvam, well, means then you cannot extend it to the whole Jagat. So Brahman is Ekameva Dvityam and Jagat is basically Anirvachaniyam, and therefore, so drop this error from your mind. What is the error? Jagat is Satyam. Okay? Perceptual error also, well, your appearance on an object on a something which is where it is not. So it's an error, but you are not seeing it as an error. You are seeing a real silver, that's why you are running behind. And you are seeing a snake where it is not, and you are running away. Both examples are for that. One is a pravritti hetu, other is a nivritti hetu. That's how two examples. Somebody asked me why two examples. Because pravritti and nivritti both happens. Seeing a snake, you run away. Seeing a silver, you run towards that. That's all. And this pravritti and nivritti. In the creation also, this every jiva who is born, he is doing this thing only, whole life. Pravritti and nivritti. Right? Pravritti and nivritti. Running towards, depending upon his raga. Or running away from, depending upon his dvesha. This pravritti, nivritti is taking the jagat as real. Why do you run towards the world? Because I want that. Oh, but that is mithya. Who said you mithya? It is mithya. It is really there. It is really there. So runs. So ragadvesha is born from the error, taking the world as real, like taking the silver as a real or taking snake as a real. Adhishthanam is something different. Adhishthanam is rope in one case. Adhishthanam is shell in other case. Not seeing Adhishthanam, not knowing Adhishthanam which is real. And then while taking either rope, taking either snake or as silver as real, and there will be activity in form of either a pravritti or in form of a nivritti. The very ragadvesha reveals that I am taking jagat as real. One will have a likes and dislikes towards not mithya things, towards satya things. If you know it is mithya, your ragadvesha drops. Ragadvesha drops. Seeing snake as a real, there is a dvesha for a snake. Seeing silver as a real, there is a raga for the silver. So there are two examples for that anyway, and therefore this so jagat as real, so well is an error. So in understanding error, you should not commit an error. That's all. In understanding an error, you should not commit an error, and that is why this Khyati Vada is under discussion. Whole Khyativada, understanding theory of error. For what? For what all this, Swamiji? Why you are you doing all this? Understanding the theory of error is important so that we will not commit an error. Right? We will not commit an error. Once you know that this kind of an error happens, well, in example first you understand and then extend to the Jagat also. Jagat is Satyam, is error. How do I know? Understand silver is, understanding the silver on place of a shell is error. Anyway, and then of course in that Adhyasa Bhasham, the Tikakara, basically, points out that other contentions will not hold good. So he explains a little bit, that also I will clarify with you. Now that Anyatha Khyati Vada, I have told you that Alaukik Pratyaksha, etc., Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas both go together, because Vaisheshika imports concept of epistemology from a Nayayikas, and Nayayika imports a metaphysics, concept of a metaphysics from the Vaisheshikas, and so that is, they go together, they have a partnership. And therefore, in their philosophy, one aspect is taken from other. And that is how they have an understanding. So that's how we always quote these two together. Anyway, so they have Anyatha Khyativada. And where Shuktau aparokshasya rajatasya deshantare buddhau va sattva yogat. So Tikakara explains that how that Anyatha Khyati is wrong. He says, when you see the silver, there are actually two pratyayas. Because you are remembering the silver there from the home, and that is also another pratyaya, alaukik pratyaksha, right? It's another perception, and therefore seeing the object here. So there are two perceptions. You are seeing object here, and you are also saying that you are seeing the silver in your cupboard in 5 miles away in your home. So there are two pratyayas, right? Two perceptions. One perception of a here also, because you are pointing a figure also, out a finger, that yeah, and that this is silver, etc. But then actually from your standpoint, well, there is you are seeing something here also, and you are seeing also something in your home also. So there should be, when you say this is silver, there should be two pratyayas, two perceptions. One perception of a silver, which is vyavahitam, which is at a distant, and also you should have a perception of this. So when you say this is silver, there should be two pratyayas, but it is single pratyaya. It is single pratyaya. This is silver. When you say it is single perception. So how are you saying that you are seeing silver right now, which is away from which is there away in the home? You are seeing that silver. How can you say that? If you are seeing that silver and seeing the shell also here, means shell is concealed, but you are seeing something here also and seeing something away also, then there should be two perceptions in your so-called perception called this is silver. There should be two perceptions. No, but it is single perception, and therefore you are bending here itself to pick up that silver. Yeah. So that is single perception. If you are really seeing the silver there, which is at a distance, then why should you bend down? Why should you bend here? Anyway, so he says there is, alaukika pratyaksha, etc. Well, we can't accept, because there is only one laukika pratyaksha. There is no alaukika pratyaksha here. You are not seeing, perceiving something silver which is away. And so all that is there is only one single perception, that this is silver, and that it makes you bend down also to pick up that silver also, only to feel disappointed later, of course. But therefore, anyway, so if this is silver, in that there are two perceptions, then we accept alaukik pratyaksha, that you are really seeing a silver, which is there in the cupboard, in your home, etc. Right now you are seeing that, we will accept it. But this is simple. This is silver. When you say, it is a single perception, and accordingly you bend down also to pick up that silver, and therefore, well, ultimately it is only laukika pratyaksha, seeing something here, which is not there, of course. There is no alaukik pratyaksha involved here. So, Shuktau aparokshasya rajatasya, on that Shukti, the silver that is seen is aparoksha, it is a pratyaksha. What is aparoksha cannot be elsewhere, it is pratyaksha. You are seeing this silver here and trying to pick up, and therefore it is not a silver which is deshantaram, which is which is away, etc., in the home, etc. Not in the silver also in the buddhi, because if you, the silver which is in the buddhi, then you will not bend down to pick up, because if it is just in the buddhi, if that kind of a perception is there, then you will not bend down to pick up that silver. And therefore, if it is purely your buddhi, you do not require to, in fact, to have your eyes at all. You do not require to have a shukti at all. So all that is there, your buddhi, if you say, you cannot project outside, anywhere outside. But, well, so it is not just in the form of a buddhi, it is not in the form of a alaukik pratyaksha, which is, the silver which is there away, and therefore, well, that is, you are really seeing a silver on a object, on a locus where it is not. So it is just a laukika pratyaksha. We don't accept alaukika pratyaksha, because this is silver in which laukika pratyaksha, this is, means a laukika pratyaksha is there, and silver, well, you say it is alaukika pratyaksha, a distant silver is seen by me, etc. So then you should have a laukika pratyaksha plus alaukika pratyaksha, two perceptions should be there, but that is not there. So this is silver when you say. Definitely it is a single perception, your experience also, and you are bending also down to pick up that silver, and therefore, well, that cannot be taken. And it is not in the form of a just buddhi or a remembrance also. If it is just in the form of a remembrance, you will not bend down outside, because it is, that silver is just in the form of a buddhi only, it's in the form of a memory only. Well, that is also not. And therefore, you are seeing in silver somewhere on the locus outside where it is not. Abba. And then shunyate pratyakshatva ayogat. If it is shunyam, there is no pratyaksha. These people, asatkhyativadi. So shunyate pratyakshatva ayogat. Tikakara says that. So if it is shunyam, there is no pratyaksha possible. So then you cannot see anything outside, including even shell. You will not use this is also. This is means you are seeing something outside. Therefore, if you are seeing something outside, where is shunya? Something is seen. Something is seen. Something exists. You don't know shell. That is correct. But you say this is, means you are seeing something. Then where is shunya? Shunya means non-existent. You cannot even use this is. Anyway, so Shuktau Satya Bhada Ayogat. So, if there is another thing also, if the silver is in the Shukti, well, it must be always in the Shukti, and it will not be negated anytime. Therefore, ultimately, that also cannot be accepted. But it's subject to negation, and therefore, the conclusion is that Mithyatvam eva iti bhava, the silver on the shell, is a mithya. Appearance of a silver on a locus where it is not, which is mithya. The silver which you see on a shell, we call it as a mithya, because there is a pravrutti. So as in the case of a real silver, sat, well, as if a real silver is there, there is a pravrutti towards it, to pick up. You run towards that. Well, so same pravrutti we are seeing right now. Therefore, we have to say it is sat. But then it is subject to negation. And when you pick up in the hand, you find it is shell. So it is negated. Silver is negated. Therefore, it is asat. So basically, it is sat vilakshanam and asat vilakshanam, because you cannot negate it, because available for perception, and as well as you cannot say it is non-existent because it is available for perception. At the same time, you cannot say it is real because it is available for negation. So sat vilakshanam, asat vilakshanam. Asat vilakshanam because if it is non-existent, never available for experience. And if it is experience means if it is real, etc. No, it is subject to negation also. And therefore, Sat Asat Vilakshana. So the adhyasa of a Jagat on Brahman also is like this. You cannot say Jagat is not because it is available for perception, and you cannot say Jagat is, well, it is subject to negation through Shastra. Well, and therefore, well, if you combine both Shastra, like this you cannot, through Pratyaksha I am negating, you should not say. Here it is all right. In example, oh Swamiji, I negate the silver through my perception. When I pick up, I see it is shell. Therefore, it is negated through perception. That's okay. In example, it is okay. But in case of, here in our Brahman and Jagat case, silver shell, that's a different thing. Both from perception you can negate. It's a perceptual error. But here, Jagat is Satyam is also error like this, seeing the silver on a shell. But through Shastra we negate Jagat, and therefore it is Sad Vilakshana, negated. And also it is Asat Vilakshana because it is available for perception. Asat means non-existent. But if it is non-existent, not available for experience. But Jagat is available for perception, experience. Therefore Asat Vilakshana. And Sat Vilakshanam through Shastra. Asat Vilakshanam through Pratyaksha. Then why you are combining two pramanas? Both are Mula Pramana. Why I can't negate? Pratyaksha can never be negated. In fact, that's the basis for all pramana. So Pratyaksha is, in a Paurushaya Pramana, Pratyaksha is a Mula Pramana. In a Paurushaya, Shastra is a Pramana. And therefore, whether Jagat, the reality of Jagat, etc. is there or not, that through perception you cannot decide. Perception reveals this Jagat. And therefore you will find it there, you will say it is Sat. But at the same time, Shastra says everything is Brahman. So Jagat is negated. Brahman is Sat, not Jagat, Shastra says. And therefore Jagat is Sat Vilakshana. Brahman is Sat, not Jagat. Shastra says this is all Brahman. And therefore, Brahman is Sat, Adhishthanam of this Jagat. And Jagat is Sat Vilakshana. Different from what is Sat. Different from what is Brahman. Ontologically. Appearance, etc. And through Pratyaksha, Asat Vilakshana. Asat means non-existent. If it is non-existent, not available for experience. But Pratyaksha proves the Jagat is there, you are experiencing every moment. And therefore, Pratyaksha reveals Asat Vilakshanam. Shastra reveals Sat Vilakshanam. And therefore, Jagat is Sat Asat Vilakshanam. Anirvachanam. This is our theory of error. Okay. So, exactly like this. Silver available for experience. And therefore, it is Asat Vilakshanam. But when you pick up, it is negated. Therefore, Sat Vilakshanam also. If it is Sat, Trikalepi Tishtati iti Sat. It should remain in all the 3 periods of time. But silver is something which is subject to negation also. And therefore, Sat Vilakshanam and Asat Vilakshanam also, because available for experience. I run towards that. Therefore, it is as good as if a real silver is there and I run towards that. Same way I run here also. And therefore, Asat Vilakshanam, it is available for experience. But at the same time, subject to negation also. So, just as silver is Sadasat Vilakshanam, Jagat also is Sadasat Vilakshanam, called Mithya. Now, last point. So all these philosophers basically are concerned with what is ontological status of this erroneous perception. Now I am trying to clarify one thing here, because there are some philosophers who are very clever. See, what we said is Badhyamanatvat na sat, Pratiyamanatvat na asat. I explain you. Badhyamanatvat Sad Vilakshanam, let's say. Badhyamanatvat, since available for negation, subject to negation, not available, subject to negation, therefore it is sad vilakshanam. It is different from sat. Pratiyamanatvat na asat, or sat asat vilakshan. Pratiyamanatvat asat vilakshan. Since available, pratiyamanatvat, available for experience, therefore it is distinct from asat. Asat means non-existent. Non-existent means not available for experience. So this sad asat, is a terminology. Well, sad asat vilakshanam is our status, ontological status, so far as a silver, so far as snake, or so far as Jagat is concerned. Now, one commentator on a Shri Bhashyam. Shri Bhashyam is a Vishishtadvaitin Bhashyam on Brahma Sutra. Ramanujacharya has not written any Bhashya on Upanishads. I think I have told you. He has written a Bhashyam on a Brahma Sutra called Shri Bhashyam. Our Bhashyam is a Shankara Bhashyam on Brahma Sutra. Anyway, on that Shri Bhashyam, there is a commentary written by one Sudarshan Bhatt. And he says, very clever, he says, Pratiyamanatvat sat, Badhyamanatvat asat. Pratiyamanatvat, available for experience, therefore sat. And Badhyamanatvat, it is negated, therefore asat. So, basically, silver is sat plus asat. Silver, which you experience, therefore sat. And the same silver later negated by, when you pick up in hand, etc. Therefore asat. Therefore silver is sat plus asat. Could you follow what I am saying? I hope you are understanding. He uses our words only. We proved anirvachaniyam, sad asat vilakshanam, like through this. Badhyamanatvat na sat, or sat vilakshanam, we say. Badhyamanatvat sat vilakshanam, we say. He says Badhyamanatvat, well, asat. We say Badhyamanatvat sat vilakshanam. He says Badhyamanatvat asat. Since it is subject to negation, we say it is distinct from sat. He says, since it is subject to negation, it is asat. What? Anything. Snake, silver, or Jagat. Then, we have another thing. Pratiyamanatvat sat vilakshanam. Pratiyamanatvat asat vilakshanam. I'm sorry. Pratiyamanatvat asat vilakshanam. Available for experience. Therefore, it is distinct from non-existent. Distinct from asat. He says, Pratiyamanatvat sat. Since available for experience, therefore sat. Since it is subject to negation, therefore asat. And therefore, silver is sat plus asat. We say silver is sad asat vilakshanam. He says silver is sat plus asat. We have to negate it. So he picks up from our definition, but interpret wrongly. Anyway, so he says sat plus asat, and we are not negating, but before us one Vedantin, great Vedantin negated it, called Ramraya Kavi. He has written a one book, almost 400 pages book. That book name is Shankara Bhashya Vimarsha. So he has compared Shankara Bhashyam and Ashankara Bhashyam. Ashankara Bhashyam means Sri Bhashya also. Shankara Ashankara Bhashya Vimarsha, analysis of, a comparison between Shankar Bhashyam and Ashankar Bhashyam. Maybe because Anu Bhashyam is also there, of another Acharya. Ramanuja Sri Bhashyam. I think Vallabhacharya is Anu Bhashyam, etc. Anyway, and therefore he has compared. And the great thing is this Ramaraya Kavi, about this Ramaraya Kavi, who hailed from this Andhra. I think maybe from a place, Kakinada or something, maybe from a place our Swami Tattvavidananji also hailed from that. So Swamiji is quite familiar with this Ramaraya Kavi. This Ramaraya Kavi has written many books. One of the famous commentary on a Bhagavad Gita also, Ramaraya Kavi. Beautiful commentary, very beautiful. If you are not able to follow even Bhashyam, etc., you will be able to follow Ramaraya Kavi. He has written in a simple Sanskrit. So Ramaraya Kavi's Bhagavad Gita Tika, commentary, not Bhashyam. Bhashyam is a Bhashyakara only. But on that Bhashyakara, one Tika has been written by this Ramaraya Kavi, very beautiful. But anyway, in this Ramaraya Kavi was a Vaishnavite before. He was a Pauranika and he was a Hayagriva Upasaka. Vishnu's one form Hayagriva. He was a Upasaka of that Hayagriva. And one day, somebody gave him a copy of a Panchadashi. And then he read it. And that's it. And there was a total change in his philosophical outlook. He was a Vaishnavite, you can understand that. And he has become a Advaita. After reading Panchadashi, so effect of Panchadashi is on everyone. And total transformation in his vision after reading Panchadashi. In his book, this Shankara Shankar Bhashya Vimarsha, 400 pages book, the entire book deals with Sri Bhashyam. And Sri Bhashyam, he deals with a Bhashyam of a Brahma Sutra on the first sutra itself. That's all. Because Ramanujacharya ji has made clear his whole philosophy in that first sutra itself. He poured so much of poison against Bhashyakara. In the first sutra, he could not wait. So he said whatever he wanted to, he wanted to blame Bhashyakara. And he did everything in the first sutra itself. 111. First chapter, first adhikaranam, first sutra, Janmadi adhikaranam. Janmadhyasya yatah. On that, Ramanujacharya ji has written that Bhashyam on that sutra, called Sri Bhashyam, he has written on all the sutras, but I am saying. So, then Ramaraya Kavi's job is to refute Ramanujacharya's Bhashyam on that first sutra itself, where he has made clear, where Ramanujacharya has made it clear, very clear, by speaking against Advaitavada and establishing Vishishta Advaitavada, etc. And so he basically, the whole idea of this Ramanuja philosophy will get in that first sutra itself. And Ramaraya Kavi dealt with Ramanujacharya ji in that first sutra itself, but he also dealt with that Sudarshan Bhatt, who has twisted the definition of this, calling silver, shell, everything is Sat plus Asat. If you remember, I told you that Anirvachaniyam means it is not Sat, it is not Asat, it is not Sat plus Asat. I said that. And that is how it is Sadasat Vilakshanam. He says no. Badhyamanat Pratiyamanatvat Sat, Badhyamanatvat Asat. Since it is available for experience, silver, and therefore it is Sat, and it is negated later, therefore it is Asat, and therefore that silver is Sat plus Asat. And we say it is not. Pratyamanatvat na Asat. Pratyamanatvat Asat Vilakshanam, Badhyamanatvat Sat Vilakshanam. And therefore appears that they are same. It is not same. It is not same. I will tell you. So Pratyamanatvat Asat Vilakshanam and Badhyamanatvat Sat Vilakshanam. And therefore, basically that silver is Sat Asat Vilakshanam, not Sad Asat. And then in fact, Ram Kavi asked, he was quite, maybe I think, very upset with this person. Ramanuja's Bhashyam itself must have made him, because he said so much against Shankaracharya ji, Ramanujacharya ji. And therefore he was very upset. And he negated whole thing. Very, very important book. Very important book. See, literary circle, we may not be studying that, but then this is people who want to know where Bhashyakara stands and where these people are. Well, but then this Ramaraya Kavi handles this Sudarshan but also. And he says, who gave you your name? I wonder that basically, well, it doesn't, your name does not look in a right perspective. Your name is Sudarshana, etc. But your commentary is very hollow, etc. And he explains how it is hollow. He said, whatever is perceived, you call it as a Sat. Who said you? Who said you? Whatever is perceived is real. Who said you that? Brahman is Sat. Right? Brahman is Sat, that you have to accept, because that has been told by Upanishad, and you are the Vedika, you accept it. Brahman is Sat. Satyam. Everyone accepts. You also accept. Yeah. And therefore and then you said, what is cognized, what is perceived is Sat. Do you think Brahman is cognized? Brahman is Sat. You say whatever is cognized, perceived is Sat. Then okay, then Brahman also is Sat. Then Brahman is cognized? Brahman is experienced? Brahman is perceived? No. So how can you say Pratiyamanatvat Sat? What is perceived is not Brahman in fact. Yeah. What is perceived is not Brahman. What is available for experience is not Brahman. That is Jagat. And therefore, so Brahman is not cognized, etc. Therefore it's wrong. It's wrong. Don't say that. Pratiyamanatvat Sat. Whatever is available for experience is Sat. It is not Sat. In fact, we have a third category. And they can't think of a third category. Pratiyamanatvat Sat, Badhyamanatvat Asat. Later negated, therefore Asat. If we say there is a third category between, its third means different from these two. Different from these two, not as a mixture of two. Different from what is Sat. Sat means not available for negation in all the three periods of time. Asat means never perceived, never experienced. This is something which is perceived, yet it is available, it is subject to negation. And that is Jagat. So, there is Anirvachaniyam. What is cognized, perceived is Sat, you should not say. Otherwise, that Sat is a Brahman, and therefore Brahman is cognized, experienced. It's not. It's not. The Adhishthanam of what you perceive. Adhishthanam of, in fact, the content of the whole experience or a perception is Brahman. Content of all the three, experiencer, experienced, and the very experience, object of experience, experiencer, and experience itself. The sight and the seer and the very seeing. The knower, the known, and the very knowing. All the three are superimposed upon that Brahman. Not available for knowledge, object of knowledge. It is not available for object of knowledge. It's a very content of the whole experience, on which it is not in the form of this Triputi also, not in the form of this triad. All the three are superimposed on Brahman through Maya. That is Brahman. The content of everything. Not available as just as a knower or an object of knowledge. Not just in the form of a knowing. All the three are basically derived their existence. All the three are non-separate from this Brahman. But it is not in the form of all the three also. And therefore, there is a question of what is experience is Brahman. No. Anyway, so Bhashyakara has explained this Khyati as a Anirvachiya Khyati. With this, theory of error is over. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.